and Scott McCauley is being inducted into the Sports Hall of Fame. So Clark is going to go ahead and take over the meeting. And Clark, if you want to start it, go ahead.
Sure. All right. Well, welcome to the October Parks Board meeting. Thank you guys for volunteering as always. So sometimes we volunteers forget to pat ourselves on the back once in a while, but thanks for coming in and helping out. And I know Cindy appreciates all of you too. So Cindy, you want to call roll? Do you have a list of everybody?
Yes, I do. If you just want to acknowledge verbally, since we can't really see everybody, I'll just go down the list. And if you acknowledge if you're here, Candy Sullinger, Scott Wiest.
Here.
Andrew Brown.
Here.
Julie Wolf.
Here.
Clark Harris.
Present.
Scott McCauley. We know he's absent. David Parrish.
Here.
Micah Farley.
Here.
Jennifer Holder.
Present.
And Jamie Whitus, I think, is absent. I think we're ready to go, Clark.
Okay, looks like we have enough for a quorum, so that's good. So, and since we're doing live, we always, if there's someone out there in the public listening and they ever have comments for anything, it's difficult to do this way, but you can always send a note to Cindy at the bransonmo.gov, and then we'll always take comments. So appreciate anybody else listening in. So that'll take us to regular agenda items, and hopefully all of the board members got to take a look at the minutes from back on September 15th, 2020. And did anybody see any changes or modifications that need to be made to the minutes? Seeing none, I guess.
I believe, Clark, you acknowledged that we spelled your name wrong in the first sentence. We need to fix that.
That's fine. Harrison or Harris, you know, I'll answer it anyway. I've been called worse, I'm sure. So, yeah, it's perfect. So anybody else have any other changes or modifications? Okay, then the chair would entertain a motion for approving the minutes from back in September 15th, 2020.
Second. Motion.
Okay, I think we had Micah. Was there a second?
Me. Or Andrew.
Okay, good. Brown.
Yes.
All those in favor, we could either call roll or we could just say aye. We'll probably do the aye. If we end up having someone vote against something, we'll probably call roll to make sure we know who. So all those in favor of the minutes, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Anybody opposed? Nope. Okay. Then Cindy, it looks like we're off to some annual review contracts, particularly with Pepsi, maybe.
Yeah, so you all probably remember that last month we did, this is an annual thing that we have revenue contracts. And last month we did the Senior Age, which was a lease of the community center, and we did the John Morris. Typically, I do all three of these at the same time, but the Pepsi wasn't ready yet. So this is an annual review and approval of the city's contract with Pepsi. It's recommended to the Board of Aldermen because of the amount, and it provides resale for soda at the Recplex. And so we buy the soda and then we resell it. So based on our 2019 totals, we're anticipating our revenue for 2021 to be about $85,745 from this contract. The contract does allow for a 4% increase in case costs, which is part of this. And then we do, though, to offset that, we do see a rebate in our cases sold of $4 in the amount. I think Brian Halterman, if you all remember him from last month, he is our new assistant director. He's kind of going through the contract. Really, the first and last pages are kind of the main thing. So that's, Clark, kind of my quick review of the contract.
Okay, good. Any of the board members have a question of Cindy or staff about the contract for the PepsiCo?
Yes, I do. Can you hear me?
Yes, Julie, welcome. Yes.
Yes, I was going to ask, do we set the price that they pay, not by the large quantity, but the price that they pay per item? Do we set the price or do they do?
So Julie, we set the price, and like he's forwarding down to like the soda and water and that type of thing. So I think we purchase, you can see like soda is 67 cents. And then I believe our current pricing is $2. So
right.
That's something we review every year. If it goes up 4%, sometimes we increase it and sometimes we don't. But yes, we set the pricing for that.
Okay, yeah, because I was going to say the flavored tea is very low. I couldn't believe how low that was compared to the regular tea. Is that something no one drinks it?
You know, I don't know that cans are really popular anymore, and I honestly don't know that we were even using cans. That is available to us, but we're mostly just doing the bottles. And so I'm not sure we do a lot of cans.
Yeah, because 35 cents seemed really cheap, and I thought, wow. So I didn't know
Well, you
if you
have
wanted.
to, Julie, just to point out, because I thought the same thing, but if you look, the tea is a 12-ounce can.
Right.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, I know.
And
that
then the
mine
teas
says
and the
that
sodas are bigger bottles.
Are they're
So,
Yeah.
12, yeah, they're 12 ounce and 18.5, right.
yeah.
So, but I just thought that's really cheap. So I just wondered.
Yeah.
No problem.
Cece, I have a question then. What do we charge for the bottle of water, the 20 ounce of water?
You know what? I think Carly, are you on here? Because I don't, Carly is overseeing our concessions, and I think she's on this meeting because she's doing the marketing presentation. Carly, you want to speak up on that?
Yeah, our water is $2 a bottle, as well as our soda. So like things like Pepsi or Gatorade, root beer. 2020, they were $2 a bottle.
Perhaps board member Micah would like to comment on some type of incentive, perhaps for choosing one of those that might be better, therefore cost just a slight bit less, might be something better for us.
I actually did have that thought as we were talking about it. Just in the interest of good public health, you know, you always want to promote something healthier, and that's not necessarily the sports drinks either, depending on sugar content and all that stuff. I always think water should be affordable, especially when you're comparing it to sports drinks and sodas, and flavored teas are typically higher in sugar. You know, and especially like I'm thinking about like tournament days where you're out in the sun and it's hot. You want to encourage kids and adults to drink water. So I'm always a proponent for having a slightly less price point for water, but I don't set the prices.
Oh, no, I would agree. I'm dating myself, but I had discussions with this at Branson High School many years ago, and to try to lower the price for the little healthier type drink. And I think I was able to get a quarter off of them or whatever. But I thought it would be encouraging. Perhaps maybe Carly can tell us, the numbers are sold? Is the soda way outranking the waters, or do you keep track?
There is a way for me to pull that report. Yes, I imagine. Well, actually, I don't want to assume either way without pulling a report, to be quite honest.
Right. Well, perhaps the other board members would like to jump in there, but I would, if it's not going to have a huge financial difference to us for that, and Cindy maybe have to help us at that point, I wouldn't be opposed to dropping it like 50 cents, make it $1.50 for the water, and leave everything else $2.
Well,
Yes,
one thing we have
the revenue associated with that is really important to us and really contemplated in the pricing, even of how we rent the fields. Because what happens is, when we charge for tournaments, we'll set those fees later, but those fees are really just covering our costs. So the concessions is how we make a lot of our money. So I would definitely not be inclined to lower a price. We could look at raising prices for other items. So that would be something to consider as well.
Okay.
I would say raise the Gatorade, like the most prime items, the soda and the Gatorade or the sports drinks, up 50 cents, and dropping the water down 50 cents. But you also have to realize too that at the ballparks, they have access to the water fountains, and they're big enough so that people can fill like big jugs of water. And then inside the Recplex, they also have water fountains available too. So, I mean, I don't know that necessarily dropping the price would be such a big deal, because they have free water essentially with their admission available to them as well. So they can buy a bottle of water once versus buying like 5 or 6 sodas for the entire family. So, but I see where you're coming from.
I agree to a certain extent. The thing that when we purchase water, or we're at tournaments, or we're at these games, I buy water because it's cold. Typically when we bring water bottles, they'll warm up during, especially if you're playing tournaments or double headers or any of those things. It's really nice to get a cold bottle of water. I would also say that not necessarily raising the price of Gatorade or Powerade is not maybe my first choice as a parent. I know when we're playing games, I want my kids to have not soda when we're playing.
Right.
Getting that component of carbonation is not the best choice either. I think that it would be, a good option to look at what our food pricing is in addition to that. And if there's a way that we can absorb those costs with nachos or popcorn or some of those other items that we sell too, not just specifically looking at these drinks, but then how we can kind of distribute it throughout concessions beyond drinks would be something good just to think about in the next month or so. But Clark, I love that point though. I think that's really, obviously it's in my wheelhouse, but
Well, we want to encourage people to do the healthy thing, and that nobody disputes the facts, with the excess amount of sugar intake by Americans and children in particular. So, something we could look at. I don't know, Cindy, of course, this relates to the contract, and you need to have that done at this particular point in time, I guess, is your normal time to do that. Is that right?
Sure. And Clark, I mean, we're not, this contract isn't about the pricing of resale. It's just about passing the contract for Pepsi. And so at that time, I appreciate the board's opinion. We always want to take the board's opinion as to the things we do, but this isn't really about pricing. It's just about passing the contract for Pepsi.
Sure. Okay. Well, any of the other board members have any input? Then maybe Cindy, you could, take a look at it and just check with some people, dietitians, whatever, and get some good opinions and maybe do a little switch up. I don't think most people would probably notice a huge amount of difference in 25 cents or whatever with those things. So, good.
I have one comment, if I may, real quick before we move on. Using my phone, I looked up Pepsi produce. I noticed one of the things listed is Propel flavored water. So maybe instead of having soda, a bunch of spots for soda, add a flavored water. I don't know if that would be healthier or not, but that's just my 2 cents worth.
Sure. Yeah. I'm sure Pepsi probably offers all sorts of things. I know they have all sorts of flavored waters, I think some of them they don't have any of the artificial sugars in them, if I recall, but you'd probably want to check on some of that. So that's a great idea. Well, Cindy, you could take a look at it and just kind of see maybe make a slight tweak in what we do, just to encourage maybe a little healthier consumption by our young people.
I'd be happy to look at it. We always compare prices and we look at pricing every year because, again, this is a 4% increase. So absorbing the 4% and kind of keeping our same level of profitability is important. But I understand the board's feedback concerning water versus soda and sugar.
Sure. Okay, good. If there aren't any more comments, then we would need a motion to approve the annual renewal of the contract with PepsiCo.
I can make a motion to accept the contract with Pepsi.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you, Scott. Any other discussion by the board members prior to voting? No, then we'll do the yay or nay again. Unless we end up with a nay, then we'll call roll. So all those in favor say yay.
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 Anybody opposed? No. Okay, it's unanimous then, Cindy. Thank you. Looks like we're moving on to the budget updates.
Yeah, so Clark, this is the normal financial report you all see on a monthly basis, and this compares last year over this year at the same time. So if you look at the report, you can see we've been definitely impacted by COVID in some areas. And, a couple of things I'd like to highlight. You see that for some of the newer board members, the first two columns represent the revenues at 2019 compared to the same time as 2020, and the next two columns expenditures, and the last two columns would be the difference. And so you can see expenditures and administration are up, and that reflects Jason Reinsch's payout, and also there were three pay periods in recently in I believe September. That wasn't the case last year, but we've also seen an increase in insurance. Let me hit some other things real quick. In the Recplex, revenue is down by about 68,000, almost 69,000, but we're only down $595 difference from May. So I was really pleased about that. If you look at one of our youth baseball, while we're down quite a bit in youth baseball, also our expenditures are down at the same time. So there's just a lot of things to take from this report. You know, again, it's certainly being impacted by COVID in several of the areas, but I might just open it up for questions. And then I'm going to talk about the larger, I've gotten kind of a larger report from Jamie Roush, our finance director, on kind of the city's budget in general, but specifically about the parks. I might just take questions at this point, Clark.
Sure. Any of the board members have questions specifically on any of the items that are listed for you on the screen?
It seems like the adult sports really took a hit for some reason. Is that because of COVID, you think, or it seems like the children?
Yeah, really specifically,
it seems like
like,
most of the sports have.
If you look at adult basketball and volleyball programs, those are always really interesting because a lot of those have expenditures that happen like, for example, some of the seasons were played in January of this year or February, but the monies were collected the year before. So it always takes about a year to flesh out those programs, if that makes sense to you. So, for example, the adult basketball, yeah, you're definitely seeing expenditures higher. Let me check that real quick. It looks like so how that is one of the main factors of that is a percentage of our full-time staff member. And it looks like to me in Marcia's notes, we saw $4,216 increase in wages, insurance, loggers, health insurance, and about $885 in officials was expenses up, and revenue was also down by $1,800 as several of the teams didn't pay until January of 2019. So there's a little bit of a timing issue. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out at the end of the year. And we just got paid for our adult softball program too. So some things are timing issues.
Right. And the pool has done very well.
Pleased about the pool. As you know, we worked really hard to cut expenses because we really depressed the ability to have revenue at the pool. And so we really worked hard to cut expenses. So we operated about a similar type of operating loss as last year. So that worked out. We made some good decisions on that.
Great job.
Good. Any other questions about the specifics? Okay, Cindy, I guess we need to look at the bigger picture a little bit from the city in general.
Yeah, so I had Stacy and Jamie send me kind of an update on the, Brian, you can just wait, if you don't mind scrolling back up to the financial report. We're not quite to fees yet, but thank you, Brian. So today I asked, Jamie and Stacy have been presenting the city's 2021 budget to our Board of Aldermen to increase. I'm sorry that Jamie Whitus isn't in the meeting. He was not able to attend. He could speak to that. So the budget assumptions for 2021 are, we lost a position that was on, that someone retired. It was Ricati retired. So that position has been frozen. So we're not able to replace that in 2021. There's no new personnel. All capital has been frozen. So there are no capital improvements that have been approved in any department for 2021. There's no cost of living increases. So that was some general subsidies. Jamie is predicting or budgeting for in the general fund a negative 22% related to sales tax. So that is definitely causing everyone to really tighten the belt. So that is what the budget is based on, a projection of a down 22% to 2019. So everybody's budgets are set accordingly to that. The parks budget has definitely been impacted, and we have been, our subsidy has been reduced by 25%. So that means we're going to have to either reduce expenses or increase revenues. And so in 2019, our year-end fund balance, we had a 28% reserve. And this year, our year-end fund balance looks to be hopefully in the year at a 23% reserve. The only reason it's that good is because we had such a good year in 2019. It looks like in 2021, we're going to reduce to a 15% reserve. And so based on the projections, so that's definitely concerning. And we're going to have to dip into our reserves in order to stay balanced with our reduction of the subsidy to 75 or down 25%. So very concerning. Every department is facing the same thing. And so the choices we make will be very important moving forward. So that was a report Jamie and Stacy gave me today. It's not always fun talking to them. And, it's really an enlightening picture of what we're facing in the next 2 years. And hopefully we'll continue to recover. But, that's guiding a lot of our choices moving forward, Clark.
Yeah, it's a tough time with the budgeting, and hopefully we can get through this without the loss of staff, full-time staff particularly.
Yeah.
So it's so devastating for people. So yeah, good. Well, it's good to be updated. Any questions by the board members about the general city amounts? No? Okay, then I guess we're off to the proposed fee schedule changes.
Yeah, that is definitely a lead into that. So some of you may remember I talked about this a few months ago. So really a couple of things are, we do an annual review of fees and suggest fee changes. And so really the fees that you see before, the first kind of thing you see is I like to do a survey every year because you were just talking about soda, costs and things like that. So we like to compare how we compare to our surrounding towns. It doesn't mean that we should be charging exactly what other towns are charging, but it is a good indicator of, hey, how are we doing in the marketplace? So I like to provide that to you. And so basically, if you see that I'm suggesting or recommending new fees be established in several different areas in youth sports, aquatic fees, field rentals, dog park, and the campground. Really, one of the big things is these fees, the fee increases represent a multi-year plan designed to offset the mandated minimum wage increases. So you all may remember that Missouri voted to increase minimum wages a few years ago. And so the minimum wage will go up to $12 in 2023. So we're going to need to find a way to offset that. Plus now the reduction of the subsidy. So the fees that I'm recommending to you are designed to cover the phased in minimum wage increases of seasonal workers such as lifeguards, concessionaires, and day camp counselors. In addition, the minimum wage increase, as I mentioned, the Parks Department is being faced with a 25% decrease in subsidy due to the decline in sales tax revenues due to the impact of COVID-19. So the additional fees are designed to offset the operational expenses. Instead of me going down through it, I mean, most of it's self-explanatory. I'm happy to entertain questions at this time, Clark.
Sure. Thank you, Cindy. Any of the board members see any particular increases that you wanted to ask a question about or make a comment?
Cindy, I just want to say, looking at the proposed fees, we're still being very competitive to our other neighboring towns like Ozark, Nixa, and maybe we could even go up. I mean, I see the proposed for like baseball, it going up to $40 instead of 35, where Ozark, Nixa, Willard, they're still in the $50 range. So, I mean, I don't know if anybody else is opposed to that. I had a son who played baseball, and we were very thankful for it, and it was still affordable. Now having multiple kids, you know, it may not be affordable for some people, but if you were to look at other towns, bigger towns with more population, you know, it would still make the pricing competitive enough, and almost incentivize.
Yeah, Jennifer, I really appreciate your comments. I definitely, you know, all these things are being considered. I have always throughout time or throughout, you know, the years that I've been here, tried to emphasize incremental increases because I think it's never good to just like raise a lot. But I think, Jennifer, you're not going to see this. We're going to have to come back in the next few years. We're going to have to probably keep coming back some because of the, you've probably seen that or know about the minimum wage increases going up. So next year on every single person, day camp, lifeguards, we're going to have to increase their wage by $1 the following year. So my philosophy in these fees that I'm suggesting to you all is incremental increases because we may have to increase again. So that's just kind of, but it's great to hear your feedback on that.
I agree with you on that because if you raise it too much, then people are going to start complaining. So, but if you do a little by little, they don't complain it as much.
Cindy? Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to ask about the pool season pass. I noticed there was no price increase on that. Do you think we need to maybe raise that a little bit?
When we get down to that, Brian, can you scroll down a little bit to the fees? I think you're still on the survey. Okay, so go down to the second page right there. So what we're doing is, going the dollar, and then actually the resident fee is $5 and a non-resident fee is $6. So how we get the season pass is we kind of stayed the same in calculating that. That's based on about 12 or 13 visits. And so I do believe we went up on the non-resident and not on the resident.
Okay,
So
yes, okay, yes.
it's hard to know what to do. We tried to be incremental and not maybe charge a little bit more to the non-residents.
Right, exactly. I can understand that, yes.
Cindy, I know sometimes on different activities it's mentioned in the media that there are scholarships available for people. Which particular activities does that apply to?
Yeah, Clark, thank you for bringing that up. So every youth sport that we have has scholarships available. So anybody, you know, Jennifer, you were mentioning people with multiple children. And so because you know, we haven't used all of our scholarship money. Our scholarship money will last probably till the end of next year. Anybody, Marcia's nodding her head yes and agreeing with me. So anybody that can apply for a scholarship, and we do have caps on that. And I think you can apply for up to 2 to 3 sports, but there is a cap. And as long as you're qualify for free or reduced lunches, I think you have to pay minimum. Is that still right, Marcia? $5 and $5. And so, yeah, Clark, I think that youth sports is where we've always concentrated our scholarships on.
Good, yeah. And that's printed on the literature and sent out all the time. So people see that, is that correct?
Absolutely. That was something, you know, reminds me of Jeff Justice. He used to talk about that years ago. And so when we advertise all of our youth sports, we print right there. And we even put it's actually the Skaggs Foundation logo, because that's where we get the scholarship money. We print that to let people know, because I mean, that's a really important part. It really is, you all, you know, a balancing act. Maybe you charge a little bit more for soda. Maybe you charge a little bit less for this. you pass on fees here, deciding what to do and what not to do. They're hard decisions. And I do think we're going to have to raise fees again next year and the year after. So I've targeted, for example, the pool fee has not been raised since 2008.
Wow.
The youth sports
Wow.
fees have not been raised since 2015. Now, the campground fees, of course, we raise more frequently. They were last raised in 2019. So that's, driven a lot by visitors. So, it's hard to know the right thing. We look at the survey and then we try to determine what will create the biggest impact and how we can close the gap. But I can tell you just we will experience nearly $61,335 that we're going to have to increase our wages in the next 3 years. So we've got to find a way to recover that.
Well, Cindy, one thing, my son was a recipient of the scholarship and we were very grateful for that. Maybe increasing it from $5 to $10.
Wow.
Just
That's
that,
a big idea.
because then it gives more value to the sport. It gives more incentive for parents to bring their kids to the practice. It incentivizes a little bit more. $5 now. You can't get anything from McDonald's for $5 anymore. So, you can raise that up to where they have a little bit more ownership in that. And it's still affordable. I know I'm in the foster parent realm, and a lot of the foster parents are willing to pay more as long as their kids get to play. And a lot of them didn't even know about the scholarship opportunities until we started talking about it in a forum. So, but I would suggest maybe even just raising that from $5 to $10.
Yeah, I think that's just an outstanding idea. And I really appreciate the feedback. It's really great to hear feedback. And I think that's a great idea. Of course, a majority of the increases that we're going to see in the majority of the revenue will come from the campground operations. If you want to scroll down to that, Brian, it's on the last page. So we've done a lot of work on looking at our campground fees. As that brings in, you all can see the financials, a majority of our revenue. I 100% feel like this is an incremental increase. And I feel we're going to have to look at this again next year. So Clark, you and I talked about this.
Yeah.
All the first 3 areas, the back end sites, the pull throughs, and the lakefront sites have all gone up $3, and the pull through sites and the premium sites have gone up $5. So while we could definitely go up more, again, the philosophy I've chosen to suggest to you all as a recommendation is an incremental increase, because I think we're gonna have to go up again. So we've really looked at a lot of the parks in our area, and some of the parks, it is hard to create a comparison because not everybody has the same facilities we do. Some of you were on the board a few years ago when we created the premium sites, and boy, I thought $55 seemed a lot to me at the time, and people are willing to pay that. So I think this is the first of probably increases that we'll see the next couple of years.
Good.
If you don't mind, I'd like to chime in on a few of the comments. I think I keep hearing the word incremental, which I appreciate. But the truth of the matter is our price points are terribly, in my opinion, underpriced compared to other area offerings. I don't think we offer anything less. We don't have to apologize like we're offering a lesser program than somebody else. So I don't see why we wouldn't be similarly, I can't even say that today, or right at aligned with those other situations. I understand, Cindy, where you're coming from, but all of those situations are dealing with the same pressures you are and we are. So I don't, they're going to have, they've got the same wage issues. We got the same wage issues. The other side of that coin is, let's look at the participants and the families that are having to fund the bill. They're going to be a benefactor too of wage increases across the area. So it's not that you're just having to incur expenses because of wage increases. Those that are working are going to be benefactors from that themselves. I don't know how much more discretionary income that creates, but it all in the end washes out in some similar kind of level playing field. So, you know, maybe to take the big step right away and get your numbers up to where they are, similar to the others, and then your incremental increases the following few years are smaller. It just seems like to me you're chasing a rabbit and you're not catching up with it at all in doing that. The other part of the equation, we have a campground that is second to none in the area. I mean, we've got a gem of a campground, and there is no reason to be underselling that. To, you know, I've walked down there 3 or 4 times a week, and it's packed full, and I don't think you're going to lose anybody. If your price point gets to that point, you know, you can always back off of it. But there's nothing better in town, and the location is premium. So I think there's no reason not to get a premium price for it. You know, of course, I live in that world of hospitality and you know, revenue generation. So you know, I'm just saying, I think we're underselling ourselves in some situations, and we really should take a leap and not be scared of that. Hey, you guys, nobody in this meeting right now can tell me that camping is going to go away the next 3 or 4 years. It's just going to continue to increase. I mean, I just talked to a guy today that put out $85,000 to get an RV, and he had an RV, but that's what he's going to do now, because that's the trend and that's what everybody's doing. And the COVID thing, even if it starts to settle down, people are still going to look for that outdoor activity, because, you know, all the data is telling us that right now, and it's not going to go away. So I would encourage you to take some bigger leaps if it's possible to do so.
Scott, I appreciate your feedback. You know, the campground is something that is driven by visitors, whereas all the other fees are more about our local folks. And so I'm always sensitive to the fact that our local folks, nobody likes to increase fees. We have to, but I think your comments about the campground are interesting for sure. I took the recommendation of the campground manager, and so he's very close to the situation and, you know, talks to those folks every day. I don't think that you're out of line in what you're saying at all. I think we could choose to go that route if that's the route we want to go. I just knew that we would have to continue to come back another year. So I thought the idea of, I think that's, Marcia wrote down the percentages for me. I think it's, see if I can find that. Thought she did. I have it somewhere here. Cannot find that at the moment. The percentage increases. Oh, here it is. About 10%, 12% the super sites, 10%, 9% in the premium sites. So I'm not opposed to that, and I appreciate your feedback.
I will actually agree with Scott, being in the hospitality industry as well. You know, during COVID, Big Cedar doubled their room rates, and people are paying for them because we have something to offer. And the campground downtown, I'm telling you, my in-laws look at it every time they come into town, and they would love to stay there, but they can't ever get in. And so it's good business practice. I mean, if I agree with you, if it was a smaller scale, I would totally do incremental, but it is going to be something that is going to be sought out. I mean, just speaking from experience here at Big Cedar, our glamping tents, the new project that we just completed, they're sold out every single day. And they did a room increase on those too. So I think I'm on board with Scott saying that, you know, we can take a leap and see what happens. I mean, I live by the state park, and I see that they're sold out all the time as well. So I don't know what everyone else feels like, but I've just seen the benefits from doing big changes. So
And you got a pretty big projected shortfall. If you're going to make it up somewhere, I'm making these numbers up, but if you've got a revenue stream that generates $60,000 and one that generates $6,000, which one do you want to get the 10% out of? That's going to have the bigger effect on the bigger generator. So I don't, that's a great comment from Jennifer, that there's people around going, whoa, we'd love to stay there, but we can't even get in. Well, that tells you there's it's just economics 101, supply and demand.
yeah.
Yeah, sure.
There's plenty of demand.
Yeah,
I
our
also think
occupancy
we wanna
levels,
be-
Scott, have been good during the so many months, but we have definitely off months that we don't have that. But I think those are all really perceptive comments. I'd love to hear any other comments from the board.
I think we just want to be really careful that it can't be perceived that we're price gouging. I would hate to raise the fees in these bigger ways that would benefit the city and would benefit, our budget here for Parks Department. And even though it would be justified for us because we've done incremental increases to do a big increase, that could be perceived by people visiting us, people who live in our communities, that, oh, well, we're taking advantage of this opportunity to really just ramp up our fees. And so I think just as long as we're being cognizant of that and the sensitivities there, then I think, that these are definitely conversations we should be having. But I'd hate to kind of tip that scale going in the other direction too.
And I can appreciate Micah's comment on that.
Mhm.
For sure. But the justifications are there, though. It's not increase for the sake of increase because it's price gouging. There's real expenses that have to be dealt with.
Right. And I think just
I
the
think
way
that's
that we
in itself is a
contextualize the
justification.
conversations,
Right.
if we're talking about doubling our prices, the public's perception of it and how we present these services, like Cindy's always been a huge proponent of doing what's good for our community and providing services, that aren't necessarily making money, but that are there for the community. And yes, I think the campground conversation is a different conversation than youth sports. But it's the tone of what Cindy's doing and what we're doing as a board that, yes, we are definitely justified in increasing these fees, but not, making sure that we're not just saying, well, we're going to increase them just for the sake of increasing. But I do agree with you guys. I think that there could be room, especially, I drive by the campground every day and it's packed, 9 months out of the year, and the other 3 months it's about halfway full. So yeah, I definitely think there's room for improvement and room to adjust that in order to fit our needs a little bit better too. So I agree with you guys. Definitely.
Cindy, we had talked about the campground before, you and I, when we were going over some of this. And of course, I was kind of leaning the same way. It's something to see the campers down there, as Scott said, who spend thousands and thousands of dollars for these items, and an extra $5 a night is probably not going to prevent them from doing it. I would definitely rather do something along those lines, if not this year, why next year, but try to maintain the youth sports numbers as much as we can. When you're comparing Ozark and Nixa, which is a Christian county, I think you would find that the number of kids that are on free and reduced lunches and the poverty rate in Taney County, it would be higher than they are. Since they're basically, bedroom communities, they have a huge number of kids that probably can afford things that our kids can't in this area. So I see the campground as a great place to increase. So, that'd be something between you and staff now that you kind of know what the board is thinking next year or whichever time, if you think it would be beneficial at this particular point in time. And if you want to relook at it or whatever, it's strictly up to you. If you're comfortable with this one and want to go forward with what the increases are, if you think this will be fine for you for the year, why that's great. We can just vote on that and yay or nay. So
Clark, I appreciate all the feedback. It's wonderful to hear a lot of good feedback from the board. I think what I might suggest that we do is, since we've got this scheduled, we don't have many more meetings until the end of the year. I would ask that the board go ahead and approve these for now. So I can come back to you all if you all are interested in just the campground fees, and we can relook at those and even do those before our season starts again, to look at them by, March or something. If we feel like the increases that I'm suggesting aren't high enough to the campground, I can bring them back again, just the campground fees. That might be a good way to keep going forward, if the board's okay with that.
Absolutely. I do have one question about the sites though. What do we constitute as a premium site?
Yeah, so Jennifer, those are sites that are right along the lakefront in Raleigh section in front of Scotty's Trout Dock. So it's actually a double site. So
Okay.
2 years ago, we took out, what's happening is RVs and people and everything is getting bigger and bigger, right? So we need more space, right? Or we want more space. And so we did that. I probably did that about 8 years ago with what we called the super sites. So it is important to make sure we're in line with the market, in line with what we need from those, because if we're losing sites, then we've got to find a way to make up the revenue. And so I think that's really important to think about. So the premium sites is kind of a double site, and has more space. It has a fire pit. It's has some other stuff that make it more of a premium. And we recently added some fire pits to some of the sites at our campground manager's recommendation at the very end of the lakefront row and the second row.
Yeah,
And
I saw those the other day.
yeah,
I was like, those are new.
yeah, they are. And we're able to charge more dollars by creating more of kind of a premium situation. We also are selling some firewood, and we've already paid for the fire pits by selling the firewood. And
That's
then
great.
another revenue source we're looking at is potentially adding propane. And so Scotty's Trout Dock has changed hands, and the new owners are not selling propane. Our campground manager, Chad Glaser, is very interested in, always driven by revenue and looking at, we're thinking we could bring in quite a few dollars with that. So again, I think it's a philosophy. There's what Scott said is, do you rip the Band-Aid off now, or do you do it incrementally? I'm very open to what you all are saying. And if we feel like these aren't enough, I'm happy to bring back additional fees to you before we really get rolling in 2021. But at this time, I'd like to go ahead and ask for a vote for this, because we only have a couple of city council meetings at the end of the year, and we'll have some other fees go into effect right away in 2021.
Just one more question, sorry.
Sure.
Now with the fees in the campgrounds, does that include water and electricity?
Yeah,
Or
so
is that just a lot of space?
So all of our fees are full hookups. So we don't have any sites that aren't full hookup sites. Unlike you mentioned, the state park, sometimes people will have 30 amp or non sites, and all of our sites are full hookup.
Okay, great. That answers my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, board members. Any other comments before we ask for a motion for approval? And knowing that Cindy will take a look at the budget and perhaps have some information for us in the March meeting, perhaps, and let us know whether we need to make some changes, just particularly in the campground area.
I have one suggestion. It's just on the off season, when we don't have as many, we could keep these prices that we've already, if we're going to approve them, but then maybe starting the seasons where we have so many people, we could increase the prices. It's just a thought.
Sure. So Julie, that's why I mentioned March, because we're going into our winter rate anyways. And so.
So you do have a winter rate and okay. I
We
didn't know.
do. So we're going into our winter rate. So really the fees that are more urgent are the youth sports and some of the others, because these fees really wouldn't start until after our winter rate is over. So we have a little
Okay.
bit of time in that.
Okay, that's fine.
Thank you. Any other board members have comments? Okay, then Chair would entertain a motion for approving the 2021 proposed fee schedule.
I so
approve it.
move.
Oh, I think Andrew, and who was this? And we need a second.
Jen,
Okay, Jen, thank you. Any other comments before we vote? Okay, we'll do yay and nay again. If we end up having some nays, why we'll go and call the vote. So all those in favor of the proposed 2021 fee schedule as listed, please signify by saying yay.
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 Any noes? Nope. Okay, it was unanimous then. Cindy? Thank you. Thank you, board members. Good discussion. Think we have a marketing presentation coming up, Cindy?
Yeah, again, thank you guys. That was just really a great discussion. Appreciate the feedback. I've asked Carly Allison. I think Carly, you still here? She has been doing some amazing things. If some of you are on Facebook, she just wanted to share just real quick some of what's going on.
Yeah, hey, so we were going to do this, I think, last month or something to that effect, but I'm happy to be here today and share with you guys kind of what's going on. I'm going to share my screen here. Let's see. I think Brian, let's see. Brian, you might have to stop sharing yours. There we go. Okay.
That works.
I'm gonna share it. Okay, so everybody should see our Facebook page here, our Branson Parks and Recreation Facebook page. Some of you, this might be a familiar site for you. I know that I often see a few of your names liking and commenting on our posts. I do appreciate that. But we've been diving a little deeper into how we reach out to our community and really trying to utilize this platform for that. As I'm kind of more into my quote unquote off season, I guess, with the pool and concessions kind of wrapping up a little bit. And so, I'm really taking this time to get into the marketing side of our operation and everything. And so wanted to share with you a few things in regards to our Facebook page. So we hit a big milestone this year. We passed well over 6,000 people who like and follow our page. Most of those people are in the Branson community. And so we feel pretty proud of that number. I do have to say that a big contributor to that, a lot of negatives may have came out of this pandemic, but certainly our audience has grown on Facebook, and I would deem that as a very positive thing that came out of that. Many of you saw our virtual programming that we did throughout the shutdown, and we've honestly just kind of snowballed on that momentum with this following and everything. And so I wanted to kind of show you guys, we're utilizing a software called Canva to make a lot of our flyers these days. We're heavy into promoting our Halloween hayride and haunted barn event coming up here. Some of our youth basketball stuff. Today was Arbor Day. Amy had a video out. I'm sure you can see right here. We've got a pumpkin decorating contest going on. So a lot going on, a lot of diversity on our page. And so what I have done recently, I'm going to stop looking at this as a visitor and look at it from the back side here. So there's a little tool, if you run a Facebook page, it's called Insights. And so this is where we're utilizing a lot of this information to make decisions on what we post on Facebook, what's attractive to people, what's engaging to people, and that kind of thing. And so what we've done is we've made a huge effort in diversifying our posts. There's a notification right there that someone liked something. I'll check that out later. But you can see on here what does well. Maybe some posts do better than others, obviously. A big one for us that we had recently was the launching of our 20 and 20 hiking program. If you can see on this column, it shows how many people it reached. So this, without any paid advertising or anything, this was just an organic thing. People were sharing the post, liking, commenting. It reached well over 7,000 people. And that's, we can dive even deeper into that by looking at the post. This is what it looked like. Very cool little graphic here. It's been a very positive thing to have out there. And you can see also some other, let's look down here. Videos are a huge hit. We've been trying to really intermingle a lot of videos. I'm gonna try and find one that, there we go. So Cindy a while back had a really great pickleball video that she filmed here in the gym during open play that reached over 4,000 people. And that really started I gotta say, that really started the momentum on our video taking. We realized that was a huge hit. So we continued on that. Let's see if I can get, my internet seems to be rolling a little slow today.
Hey, there's Cindy.
Yeah, thanks for playing that, Carly. Thanks for playing that, Carly.
Yeah. So anyway, we're doing a lot of things on here. One of the big things coming up next week, as I mentioned before, is our Halloween hayride and haunted barn events. So we make event pages for those things, and people that are interested in coming to those events and everything, they can actually follow the event page. And we've been posting in there as well, kind of the fun stuff that we've got going on. For instance, this is our Halloween hayride event page. And so I've been posting some things in the discussion where, yeah, the pumpkin decorating contest, you can enter to win 4 free tickets by decorating a pumpkin. So a couple other things, just kind of give people a little teaser about, okay, what the event entails. There's another like, I like seeing that. There's some spiders made out of old grills, that kind of thing. So anyway, that kind of sums up my marketing presentation for you guys today. Does anybody have any questions about what we've got going on social media and how we're reaching out to people through that?
Any of the board members have a comment or question for Carly?
So I
Carly,
do
you've
have
done
a
a great
comment.
job. Go ahead, Micah.
No, you're good, Julie. Go ahead. I defer to you.
No, I was just saying it was a great job. It's very well put together.
And I was going to say the same thing Julie did. Until you pointed it out just now, subconsciously, I guess, I have noticed like how good it looks. I think having each of the event, just I don't know, they're probably not infographics, but like that right there, those have definitely caught my attention more as I've been scrolling through. And I have noticed that I'm not looking for sports announcements anymore, like deadlines and cancellations. I'm looking for and at activities and all of the other things, like you said, it's a more comprehensive view of what Parks and Rec provides. And so I think you've hit your target on what you've been trying to do, is just generate more attention and draw us into the social media. And so I think that, yeah, you've hit it spot on, Carly. You've really done a good job.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys saying that.
I concur. It just looks really great. Easy to read and follow what's going on. So it's really good, Carly. Thank you. Anyone else?
Carl, I was going to say the same thing, the timeliness and making, it's got to be updated regularly, and that takes time and effort. And a lot, I suspect that all of us at some level are using social media, and you can always tell when something's not being updated and you lose interest in it pretty quickly. So great job on that, Carly. I'm just going to throw an idea out, not to blindside you, but I know a lot of the board members themselves are quite active. Clark's out on trails and stuff all the time. If some of us became educated somehow, wondering if there's a way that we could even shoot some videos and get them to you and help out. You can only be at one place at one time, but many of us are out doing things and around things, and not to inundate you with it, but maybe it's something to talk about in the future, and just the more you have, the more you can put out. So just a thought.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, I think that's wonderful. And just to add to that, if you are on Facebook and you didn't know that we had a Facebook page, I do encourage you to like us or follow us and see what all we got going on. So.
Good. Thank you, Carly. Anyone else have a comment? Okay. Thank you again, Carly. So Cindy, on to some outdoor initiatives.
Yeah, that's a perfect lead in to, the outdoor initiative that Scott and Carly were talking about is the 20 and 20 trails. This was Carly's initiative. And it was really, I've mentioned in the last couple of board meetings, we're really trying to focus on being outside. Obviously, what's happened with COVID-19 has had a huge impact on the world, certainly in our department, and given us an opportunity to focus on outdoor initiatives. So Carly showed that flyer. So it's, Carl, you still on? I know Scott is in that. We just quickly share what that is?
Yeah. Would you like me to screen share or?
Yeah, if you want, I know Scott, he sent me an email last night about tracking through Google Docs. And so you want to share that real quick?
Yes, one moment. Yeah, so we started this initiative called the 20 in 20 hiking program, and we've actually made a separate category for it because we hope to expand on this under outdoor programs. Under the outdoor programs tab, you'll find where it says the hiking program. And so, we're hoping to springboard this into something much larger, hopefully in 2021. This was really just to gain some traction and gain some interest while people are, so they're outdoors, right? And so this is why we had such a great response to this. And so the challenge is to hopefully hike 20 miles with the remaining time in 2021, utilizing the Branson Parks and Recreation Trail System or local trail systems. And you can see the challenge task there. And all people have to do is email me, and I can get you access to our Google Docs hiking log, where you can, log your hikes, log your trail reports, which I find super helpful. And so that's one of the main things. There's other things that we'd like to do with this hiking program next year. Potentially doing group hikes, history hikes, and things of that nature.
Great, good.
Yeah, that's a big one. And so, I think we're just at the kind of cusp of doing some things there. Again, I know Scott Weiss is participating in that. And then another outdoor initiative, and I'll just hit them all kind of quickly, is it's called Trips for Kids. And so we've been working on an initiative to, there's not a lot of biking areas in Branson proper. And so we've been trying to concentrate on how can we do some things, and we have no money. We've already established that, right? And so how do we do it with little to no money? So what we do have is we have some land, and we're creating partnerships. I think it's all about partnerships for sure. And so I had reached out to, I had seen something on TV or advertising about mountain biking. I had reached out to Brad Ray, who's a mountain biking coach, and he's a teacher in Forsyth. And we're talking about finding a way to team together on creating kind of a mountain biking course or even a skills course there by our skate park or behind facilities maintenance, where we have some land there along the path. But also this Trips for Kids is a chapter. We could be a free chapter, and we can actually get bikes. And so kids can check them out, and we would have to do some guided or some programmed biking things once a month, which we're teaming with Brad on. So we've been kind of working with the trips for kids to be a chapter. So that's an exciting thing that'll give you more updates as we go along. But I think the idea, if you've tried to buy a bike lately or buy some outdoor stuff, you can't even buy it. So if you didn't have, if Micah could come here and she could bring her kids and so they could check out a bike and participated in a bike event with our partner Brad, I mean, that's what we're going for with that. And then another thing we're working on is the idea of having, as you guys know, we have our fishing ponds down at the community center, and we've teamed with Missouri Department of Conservation on those. The last time I was there, David Parrish's wife was there fishing with his kids, and we got them on film. It was crazy. But we're thinking of doing teaming, hopefully with Bass Pro, to do something down there, a little bit of a youth fishing tournament. And lastly, I had a gentleman, he actually works for the planning department. His name is Zach. I cannot remember his last name right now. And he reached out about teaming on improving our skate park. If you all have noticed, we took our fence down around our skate park, and we've not had the money through the years to improve that park. And so again, we have manpower, and we're working on with a group to do some efforts to improve the skate park. So multiple partnerships going on as a way to address all these outdoor initiatives, but they're all very exciting, and I'll continue to keep sharing more.
Perfect. Thank you, Cindy. Good. Lots of great opportunities coming up, and people have learned about the outdoors because of a necessity, and they won't forget it now. You know, this will continue. It's kind of like Scott was saying with the purchase of RVs, et cetera. It'll keep going on because people are discovering something new that they're enjoying. And once the vaccine's out and some of this is all kind of gone away, hopefully sooner than later, why people will still want to be outside. I really believe that. So that's great. Good, Cindy. We appreciate all that. Any board member comments on the outdoor activities? Nope. Okay, then Cindy, I guess we're off to members' reports. We can run down the list, or we can just ask, does anyone wish to make a comment about something that's going on in the parks?
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, but I'm going to have to log off. I have to be someplace, but
Okay.
great job with everything. You've done a great job. Last minute, I don't know if this is the first time. I'm sure it's not the first time you've taken over a meeting, but you did very well. And Cindy, I mean, congratulations on all the stuff you've done. You and your staff has just been spectacular. So
hey, thank you, Julie. We're going to call you next week on the I know you're volunteering for our hayride event, so I'm going to call you in the next couple of days.
Okay, bye everybody.
Bye, Julie.
Bye,
Thank you.
Julie.
See ya. Let's see, Micah, you had a comment? Board member report?
I do. I have two items I want to talk about real quick, or as fast as I can. The first thing I want to say while Carly is sitting here, I have said it to her face, and I'm going to say it to everybody, and I want it published, and I'm going to tell the whole world that we absolutely loved football this year. That was just so much fun. My boys have found their calling in life, and I think Carly, well, aside from my kids, but Carly just did an amazing job just running everything and coordinating everything and keeping us on time and putting us on our fields and all the things that she did. I only saw her on Saturdays, so I don't know what you did behind the scenes. Probably nothing, right? Yeah. But I cannot praise you enough for how much work went into that. I know there are other people who are working behind the scenes for that. And I know, Cindy, you've had a hand in it, and working with Branson schools. I know there are people there to thank for their contributions, but I saw Carly making calls and running games and running the clock and blowing whistles and all the things that she did on Saturdays. So really that whole program, I just really was amazing for our family this year, even though the games were 8 in the morning on Saturdays. But we loved it. So yeah, that just, we can't sing that enough. I would like to ask about maybe opening it to older kids. I don't know where all that conversation was. I do know my 5th grader really wanted to play tackle football with the school. The schedule didn't work out, otherwise I would have let her. But I know she would have loved to have been able to participate. I know that the program through the school is very popular and very big. But I do know that there are other kids who would like to participate if given the opportunities. So maybe, having that conversation at some point in the future to open it up to 7th grade, including the 5th and 6th graders, would be at least something to explore for us. So that's my only suggestion on that one. Otherwise, it was great. We really loved you, Carly. Thank you.
Thank you, Micah, for all your praise.
Yeah. The other thing that I wanted to address is some issues that I've noticed in Branson North Park. I know Saturday, I noticed there's spray paint. Somebody has spray painted on one of the trees. It's the one right closest to the road, right by the trash can. I don't think it's anything offensive. Otherwise, my kids would have told me about it. I think it's just a heart and initials. So that one by itself needs to be addressed. Talking to the neighbors, that's not the first incident of vandalism in the park. Also, I know one night last week or the week before, as I was bringing my kids in as it was getting dark, there were teenagers going out to the park. So it's not so much an issue of them being there during the day or while the kids are there. Then a couple nights later, I went out to the car to get some stuff after dark. It was probably 8:30 or 9. And there were flashlights on the playground equipment. So I assume there were teenagers or kids or somebody playing there after dark or whatever they were doing. None of my business. Well, it is my business, but so I think that maybe having a conversation about putting street light or some kind of lighting. I know that through the discussions we've just had, there's not budget. And I know that street lighting is expensive, not just installation, but maintenance and power bills and all the things that go into that. I think that would be a really good spot. I think it is important to have safety in that area. That corner where the park is also a bus stop. All the kids that live down the street where that cul-de-sac is, the bus doesn't come down the cul-de-sac. It stops at that corner by the park, and then all the kids walk down the street. And as it's getting dark, staying dark later in the mornings, kids are getting on the bus. It's still kind of dark, which will continue through the winter. And then it's just getting dark earlier, which my kids don't play on the park after dark anyway. But with what I've noticed there, with older kids or teenagers being there, I don't know, I think we just need to do something to kind of change the level of safety at the park if we can have those conversations as well. So
good. Thank you, Micah. Good. Any other, let's see, Jennifer or David, any comments from other board members? No? Scott, you all right? Good.
Yeah, my unmute wouldn't unmute. First, how many of us live in Branson North? Half the board?
Half of it, I think.
I guess tonight is a Carly show because I just want to brag on that program too, the 2020 program and the stage of life that my wife and I are in, outdoors and hiking and being out and about is important to us. So we tend to be oblivious to some degree to some of the other activities and things that are going on, but that's the challenge of a community park board trying to satisfy the needs of a whole cross section of a community. So, but I do encourage, Cindy, I sent her an email with some pictures of a hike we were on recently that I want to share with the board. I just didn't know quite how to do it. So you might all get an email from me. And it's not anything you haven't seen before, probably. And Cindy had noted in a reply to me, and it probably predates me just a little bit, so it's probably more than a year ago. She had done a presentation on the, I don't know what we call that marking system out in the wilderness trails, but it's for all the hiking I've done in multiple places, and my wife and I found ourselves on the top of a 14,000 foot peak 2 weeks ago, and the markings weren't as good there as we have in Branson. So I love that system. I don't know how we can utilize it more, if there is a way to utilize it more. I think it's a highlight, especially in a tourism community, because it's something that's pretty user friendly. And quite frankly, all the times I've hiked out there, I've never done it. And then I scanned the what do you call those codes, whatever they are. I didn't even realize that interaction was there. It's tremendous. And I think as a community, we could benefit certainly, but as a tourism community, we can have something that I don't know that a lot of other destinations might have in place. And I can tell you for myself, and Jennifer might be able to articulate similar, you know, in our resort settings, we are always looking to put more information out to tourists and those that are coming to the area, and make it easier for them and make it more friendly for them, so that, you know, I've been pushing the heck out of the 20 in 20, even just on our corporate website. You know, somebody being in town for a week or 5 days or something, 20 miles of hiking for some would be a no-brainer. And just to find the 3 signs, which I haven't found yet, I found one, but those are great programs, and they cross over to be community oriented and fit into what Branson is as a destination tourism community. I mean, we're strongly driven by that. Those revenues make a difference in our community. Cindy spoke to it earlier in the meeting. If we're experiencing I'm sad to hear that, if we're experiencing a 20% cut potentially in funding, and if that is the anticipation of the board of aldermen for tax revenue drop, that's a real serious issue. I know if Jamie was on the meeting today, he could share with us that Tanger they're doing quite well. I know we've been doing quite well. Jennifer's saying Big Cedar is doing quite well. I know not everybody in town's doing quite well. I know the theaters are struggling and the indoor activities, but I'm curious. I'm trying to follow that and get the true real numbers. And I'll be interested to see, unfortunately, tax reporting lags behind, and we don't know for sometimes months before really where those revenues are at. But I think we have to listen, as aldermen have said, and Jamie's not going to guide us down a bad path, to be precautionary and not be reactionary, but be proactive. You know, we got to budget accordingly. But these things that we are doing, I'm glad Carly's seeing the immediate success, which only encourages her and us to ramp that thing up in 2021 also, maybe even on a bigger scale, and maybe even with some corporate backing in the area. We don't have our own funds to look at, so those partnerships, Cindy, you talk about, it's just thinking outside the box and finding other opportunities. And we all know Mr. Morris is very outdoors oriented. So whenever things of that nature come along, there might be some partnerships there too. So I think we should keep those dialogues and ideas going. But in the meantime, I encourage everybody on the board, take advantage of the 2020. If you haven't yet, like the Facebook page, then do that tonight. Send Carly an email tonight and get yourself registered in the program. And if it's a family thing or individual thing, or you and your significant other or whatever it might be, go for it, have some fun with it and enjoy it. So thanks for doing it, Carly and Cindy.
Hey, Scott, just real quick, you've been such a big cheerleader in this, and we're really grateful. Both what you and Mike has said, it's really rewarding because, you know, we get a lot of negative feedback, and we're always happy to take constructive feedback for sure. But when we get positive feedback, it's amazing. So thank you so much. And I do think that I have always felt like we were behind the curve a little bit in our signage and the things we're doing on our trails. So to hear that you find that initiative successful is really rewarding. I mean, what I really want to do, and Lakeside Forest is obviously the biggest area we have for hiking. So the signage is so critical, but we absolutely want to create interconnected signs to our trails. And as we continue to work on more trails, connect those. And I feel like there's always more to do, but thanks for your nice comments. I'll just forward out Scott sent me some great pictures, and I think we could even use some on Facebook if you don't mind, that would show, those markers that you're talking about. So I'm happy to send that out, and thank you for the nice comments.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Cindy. Any other board members? My one comment would be at 4 o'clock today, the tree keepers met with Amy Jackson, and Cindy was there, and we did a delayed Arbor Day presentation, and Mayor Ed Akers was there and read the proclamation. This is, of course, 25 years that Branson has been a Tree City USA, and part of that process is you have to spend a certain amount of money in your Parks Department dealing with trees, and the tree keepers started up basically in February. It's a volunteer organization. You have to commit to a year and 24 hours of service. Amy Jackson, of course, is the facilitator. She's our landscape specialist and arborist. And so she just periodically gets us together. We oftentimes have a lesson, and then we do a little work, sometimes more work than lesson, but we end up getting a lot of things done. And Amy's very enthusiastic and very competent and very helpful with that. So I know you guys, everybody's busy, but if you know someone who has a real interest in trees and helping with our urban forest, which remember, people come here and have always come here because of the natural beauty. It's what brought people here at first, and it still does. It still does. So we got to protect it. It doesn't just happen by itself. So if you're interested, why check that out. I want to thank Cindy for her good support with Amy and the program too. It's doing good. So.
Hey, Clark, can I ask you a question real fast?
Sure.
I noticed that the tree board still has an adopted section of highway. Is that something that you guys are still maintaining, or how did that kind of roll over as that was changed?
I'm trying to find a sticker that says keeper. And then it's going to go right over the word board.
Perfect.
I'm trying to get the fonts just right. Then about midnight, I'll get out there with my flashlight. So don't call anybody.
I will. I'm going to.
We've left it up there just because it has the tree on it, and people still confuse tree keepers and tree board, and it'll take a little while. So one of those things. So,
gotcha. Yeah. No, that's good. That's good.
Good point. Good point.
Thanks.
Thank you. So, all right. Anybody else? Then what we'll do, we need to have a motion for adjournment then, and then we'll do a vote for that too. So I need a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Scott. Anybody make a second? I'll second it. That was fast. All those in favor of adjourning for this evening's board meeting signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? No. Thank you, board members. Thank you, Cindy. Thank you.
Thank you, Clark. Thank you, Clark.
Thank you, Brian, for sitting in. Thank you, Carly.
We'll see you guys next month.
All right. Have a good evening.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye, guys.